Maps that are crazy. The world's 250 million years from now. In 250 million years, continents will collide again to form Pangaea Proxima. New mountains will emerge and the Atlantic Ocean will become a sea. Mount Everest will not be the highest point anymore. That is mental to think about. Will humans still be around 250 million years? You kind of assume not. You know, we've only been around 200,000 years at this point. I guess something will still be around, but surely it won't be what we think of as humans today. You can kind of still make out some of the shape of Australia, South America too, but everything else is just like a big blob of blah, 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 blah. Countries banned from the Olympics between 1920 and 2024. Okay, enhance. Alright, Hungary was banned in 1920 due to war. Belarus and Russia were banned in 2024. Obviously, remember that one. Germany was banned 1948, 1924, 1920. A lot of countries have been banned over the years. Japan, Korea, Kuwait, South Africa, Zimbabwe. Mainly due to war, but there's also politics, doping. Taliban's position on women. It's not really political, is it? Countries where leaving your religion is punished. This is something I've not really thought about before. I know that there's some pretty strict religious countries out there, but thinking about getting the death penalty because you don't want to be part of a religion anymore is insane. And that's quite a few countries as well. I don't get how, like, the rest of the world is still allowing this kind of thing. Map of Africa on the year 1880 before the European scramble for Africa. That is sad to think about. Such a diverse continent, and then big white people came in and were like, yeah, we'll have this bit. The most populous countries expected in 2100. Oh, so about 80 years from now. I've not seen data like this before. So USA, 336 million. I think that's actually less than they've got now. Aren't they on about like 350? 330. So actually in 8 years, they're barely changing. China's currently on 1 billion, so they must be really slowing down. India's projected to stick the same. Nigeria, 791 million. Surely that's way higher than right now. Yeah, 200 million currently. Surely that's going to cause a bit of chaos if they really do continue at that rate. Darkest legal front side window tint by state. Oh, I'd love to have my front window tinted. But the UK doesn't let you tint your front window. In the US, though, we can have a good variety of tintage. What does zero mean? Does that mean you're actually allowed to make it completely non-transparent? Surely not. Because they've got none up here, which is white, so you're not allowed to tint it. The black must mean you can actually... Nah, that can't be right. Ah, someone's clarified in the comments that they mean the top 4 inches of your front window can be completely black if you want it to be, which I guess makes more sense. Ancestry of US presidents, approximately up to 10 generations in the past. This is really interesting, and I guess it's just a reminder of how young the USA is. You go back 10 generations, and obviously none of them are from the USA. So a lot of US presidents' ancestry comes from the British Isles, which I guess makes sense. Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, George Bush, Ronald Reagan. We have a few from France, Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, Denmark, and then some individuals. Kenya for Barack Obama. Obviously, he himself was from Hawaii, though. Poland, Sweden, Spain, Estonia. That's really interesting. 5G availability by country. Right, this is another enhance. Okay, so the color represents the year at which it was introduced, as opposed to how strong it was. So India have just gotten a lot of 5G coverage, apparently. Most of Europe has 5G these days. I'm in the UK, which I do get 5G sometimes, but a lot of places I go are 4 or 3G still. But that is still far better than the continents of Africa and South America, where there is very little 5G coverage at all. How many Europeans born before World War I are still alive? The maps today are really interesting, aren't they? Just so much stuff I've not really thought about. So we have 16 people in the UK that were born before World War I, which was 1916, right? Oh, it's 1914, Jack. Oh, I knew that as well. Apparently France and Italy still have over 30, and then a lot of Eastern Europe, the numbers are very low for whatever reason. I guess that's because people live longer in these countries than these countries, I suppose, maybe? There's probably more to it than that. So the oldest living person was born in 1907, and they're called Maria, and they live in Spain. Very interesting. The location border of the Great Wall of China. Was it worth the effort? Alright, so that is a really big wall, to be fair. It goes a long way. Do you know, I don't think I've ever seen this on a map. I assumed it went all the way across, but it doesn't. It just stops here. They stopped about halfway. Map of protests from far right in the UK. Violent protests. Yeah, it's riots rather than protests, isn't it? On the 100 arrests have been made after violence as protests organised by far right groups. Yeah, really, really sad and depressing and shocking to see that there's that many people that are that horrible. But I have seen recently they're getting more and more outnumbered by actual nice people, which is good. Virginia's territorial claims over the years. So in 1609, Virginia claimed like all of the USA and Canada, I guess, which is kind of mad to think about. Then they claimed this large chunk of the northeast, and it's just been slowly reducing down to the current state that they've got now since 1863. Regions of Europe, different perspectives considered. Okay, so Northern Europe does actually include the UK and Ireland, which is interesting. I I maybe wouldn't have whacked us in that. Western definitely does make sense. Then you've got Eastern, Central, Balkan, Southern. What else do we have? Ah, it's the individual pictures. Central Europe, kind of centered around Czechia. I suppose that makes sense. Western, yep, I'm on board with Western. Eastern as well. Southern, and then finally Balkan. Yeah, I guess it's all a bit of a blur. There's going to be overlap here and there. Busiest railway stations in Europe. Okay, so Gare du Nord in France is the busiest with 245 million visitors. That's kind of crazy. A lot of UK and Germany on this list. So UK's busiest is Waterloo, 177 million. I've been to Waterloo Station once, I think. Germany's busiest is Hamburg with 196 million though. Yeah, Germany definitely dominating the list more than everywhere else. But France taking the #1 spot. Map of the highest points in each US state. Okay, I reckon I've probably not heard of any of these places. Let's see if there's anywhere that I recognize the name of. No. There literally isn't. I don't know any of these mountains. Mount Sunflower sounds nice though. What if Zealandia was above sea level? Yeah, there is like a hidden continent basically under New Zealand, just to the east of Australia, and you can see it's pretty massive. The northern parts will be tropical, and the southern tip must be something like Patagonia. Ah, I would love to see it. New Zealand's already an incredible country with like so much of its own diverse history and wildlife. Zealandia would be magnificent. Global rat distribution map. All right, now we're getting to some good stuff. So there are rats basically everywhere in the world other than Antarctica, which makes sense, and then areas of the Arctic Circle. So I guess they don't like it too chilly to the little rats. They're so cute rats, you know. They get a lot of bad rep, but they're incredible little animals. I'm gonna have a pet rat at some point. It's gonna be fantastic. He's gonna sit here while I record videos. Population size of European countries. Okay, so we're not considering actual land. It's literally just how many people live in each country. So you can see that the United Kingdom is pretty packed for its actual size. And Russia, although a massively populated country, comparing how big it is to Germany and the United Kingdom, its population isn't actually that crazy. Countries that have never won a medal in the Olympics. It's weird how they're all kind of around a central region of the earth, isn't it? So a lot of countries in Africa, a lot of the small oceanic and Central American Caribbean countries never won anything. And then in Europe, I guess it's the micro-states like Monaco and Andorra, San Marino, that sort of stuff. I suppose it makes sense that smaller countries with small populations are going to be less likely to have globally talented Olympic athletes, but not always impossible. When did women get the right to vote in Europe? So a lot of countries, it was around 1918, 1919. Russia was actually 1 year earlier than the UK, which is interesting, isn't it? You can say it was pretty late for France, 1944, but even later for Switzerland, 1971. That's crazy. That is horrific. How many wild alligators are there in each US state? Oh, here we go. So for most US states, it's 0. Like literally no alligators at all. But things pop off in the south. Texas, Louisiana, and Florida in particular. What is that, 1.3 million? It is. 1.3 million in Florida, 400,000 in Texas, which I didn't know. I knew there was alligators in Florida. And then all of these states have some. Louisiana, though, 2 million. Why is there so many alligators in Louisiana? I want to see a picture of one. Yeah, there we go. What a cutie. Transcontinental cities. This is cities that span 2 continents. Okay, and there's actually quite a few, apparently. So Istanbul is probably the only one I would have known about, which is Europe and Asia, obviously, in Turkey. Orenburg in Russia is apparently part of Europe as well as Asia. Okay, so it must be right on the cusp there, I see. Suez makes sense. Africa and Asia. That's where the Suez Canal is. Almeria in Spain. That's something I've never heard of. It's an island in the Mediterranean considered African. Okay. A lot of continents like Oceania don't have any transcontinental cities. Okay, cool. Doggerland around 10,000 BC. This is another sort of forgotten continent or area of land, whatever you want to call it. So before the sea levels rose, the United Kingdom was actually connected with a lot of Europe. And there's so much more land around the Netherlands and Denmark. You can see that red is what the land is like now. But yeah, you just can't imagine it, can you? And that was only 10,000 years ago. Average savable income by country in Europe. So I think this means that in the United Kingdom, on average, people are able to save 36% of their salary, as in like whack it in a savings account and use it later. But the thing is, I don't like these kind of maps because the data includes like the super rich at the top, which distorts most of the data in like the 95%. And it makes people look way better off than they actually are, which then makes governments look better, even though they're causing a real faff on. But that is particularly sad when you consider that a lot of these Eastern countries, they're actually in the minuses, where people aren't actually able to save anything and they're just in debt, which is obviously really, really sad. Europe's favorite TV shows. Oh, go on then. What's ours then? Sherlock? Nah. Sherlock was good, you know, it was fine. But favorite TV show of all time for the average British person? Nah. There's definitely better British-made TV shows than Sherlock. Can I think of any? No. The red area is home to 0.9% of Australia's population, 243,000 people. The vast majority of those people are concentrated in a few outback towns, leaving practically the entire area truly wild. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. So much of Australia just isn't inhabited, like a huge portion of it. Australia is a similar size to Europe, so think about how much land that actually is. Depth of Lake Baikal. Ah, get this full screened. This is so cool looking. It's like a 3D map, 3D topography. This is such a cool way to accurately represent the place. Biggest company per region. Okay, so North America has Microsoft, worth 3 trillion. Fair enough. I thought Apple were high, but apparently not. South America have Petrobras, not heard of, but they are an oil and gas company, okay. In Europe, it's Novo Nordisk, which is a pharmaceutical company. Africa has Naspers, which is technology company. Think of the difference there. 31 billion, which is obviously a colossal amount of money, but it's not very much compared to 3 trillion. We've got oil and gas for Asia and mining and gas for Oceania. So oil and gas still really globally dominating, which is a bit sad really considering their fossil fuels. Biggest postcode in Australia, brackets the world. Yeah, surely that cannot be beaten. So this postcode is used in an area of Australia that is probably the size of like Germany, United Kingdom, France, Spain all shoved together. And they all have the same postcode, basically, because there's probably about 3 houses in there. That's so interesting. And look at all of these other huge postcode zones too. All right, well, like I said, we had some really interesting maps this video, so hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.